Let's take you to Gauteng now, because in Johannesburg, some business owners say their establishment in Maboneng remain vulnerable, while several of them in that area have now resumed operations. It may take years for others to fully recover. Watching that angle is Katlego Legodi, live to us now from Maboneng. Katlego, what are you able to see 1 year on from your vantage point?
Well, businesses here in Maboneng in the city of Johannesburg are still trying by all means to pick up the pieces following the July unrest. Many of them just telling us that the July unrest was not just a blow. The blow came from COVID-19, and as they were trying to make a means to just survive through the COVID-19 lockdown, they were hit by the July unrest. And coming to you live now from the Curiosity Backpackers here in Maboneng on Main Street. This is where, this accommodation here, it basically accommodates a whole lot of tourists coming out of South Africa into this place. The manager just telling us earlier on that, at that time, during the July unrest, this is an area whereby they had tourists that were stationed here because they were locked in the country due to the fact that the restrictions didn't allow any movement of tourists. And then as they were trying to just accommodate those tourists, that's when the July unrest happened here. This is an establishment that has a whole lot of businesses and arty space where a lot of people come here to just enjoy and chill and just relax in the sun, take photos with their loved ones. But it was a different story at that time, as most of these places here had to safeguard their properties, increase the security, a call for more police enforcement to just try and safeguard some of those spaces that they operate in, as many of them were not ready for the July unrest. But I'm going to bring into the conversation now Temba Goniwe. He's the manager of Backpackers, Curiosity Backpackers and 12 Decades Hotel, just to let us in on how they are coping so far and how the July unrest and COVID-19 have really affected the business. Temba, please welcome to Newsroom 405. Let us in on how actually you are surviving right now as a business and how the July unrest really affected you.
Thank you very much. So as currently Curiosity now is the only design-led and tailored experiences accommodation providing tourism facility that exists in Gauteng, in South Africa actually. So what we did back then, by applying a post-COVID mentality, we were able to retain staff and not actually dismiss anyone, but they all took a break. Most of the staff took a break from certain departments, and during COVID they came back because now we started in promoting domestic and local tourism. And how that unrest affected us is during the riot, as you know, there were still international guests stuck here, and because of the halted movement, we had to host those guests, and for them the funds it was becoming too much, that's how they were affected from an international perspective. And then during the unrest, as the risk perception was there. I mean, travelers come into every certain country traveling to with the risk perception and with the whole idea of expecting crime, expecting that. And in South Africa, it's a very big, highly researched keyword actually. So yes, I mean, the guests here were spooked, but because of the environment they were in and curiosity, they did feel safe at that time.
Was there any support, from government, coming from government to just help you as a business to just keep afloat? You're talking about how many backpackers have had to shut their doors due to COVID-19, and then the unrest happened. How have you been keeping afloat? Has there been any support coming from government?
So actually, it was all internally because of our accounting team. I will be honest there, they did really hold us up. From Upegi Dube, the founder, he even established a farmhouse in Krugersdorp during COVID, and he's just opened in Cape Town now. So he did all that during COVID. So from his support and his internal team, they were able to basically build the brand into this hybrid accommodation that it is now and experiences. So yeah, we did that, and then with the whole team internally, we maintained and grew the business. As you know, Urban Backpackers shut down, so we're currently the only backpackers that's operating, and we had to take in the influx and basically find new spheres of operations.
Let's talk about, the restrictions were lifted, and then now travelers are able to come into South Africa. This was not the case during COVID-19. As you say, many of the people here were trapped due to those restrictions that were basically put in place by the country. Just let us in on how has it been now? Have you seen tourists coming in, and what about the perception? The July unrest created some sort of a perception that this is some sort of a dangerous country to be in, a dangerous city to be in as Johannesburg. But then let us in on how has it been so far?
So to combat those risk perceptions that travelers already come with, what we've had to do now is comms, communication, pre-communication, and communicating with guests, increasing basically the digital communication with our guests, making it accessible to them so that they feel safe when they arrive. And what has had to happen now due to that is during that risk perception and how we were able to come back was basically through doing virtual immersions, because as you know, COVID shut down the airlines, and because of the airlines shutting down, a couple of other airlines were shut down. Like for example now, I know SAA is no longer in business, the buses, Greyhound is no longer in business, Protea Hotel is no longer in business, you know. So large companies like that shut down, and it just shows that it just took that internal team build to get there. So with that now, even currently speaking, there's no internationals coming in the same influx we used to get because there's a less amount of airlines which were affected by COVID. And that traveling now has dropped at a level of maybe 30%. And yeah, we're still maintaining on that 70 and we're trying to get guests in. But we did experience a huge influx of tourism guests. We just had a huge group now of local group from the BASA students, and we were hosting like huge groups for like a 3-day period, and we're still getting groups coming next end of month, but that is still now from a local perspective, which means that COVID developed the domestic local travel while diminishing international, which we're trying to build right now.
The unrest?
And the unrest, yes. So the unrest did affect their perceptions. I mean, so that's how now we were supposed to, as a team, build the comms and communicate with our guests and give them that safety and security so that when they get here, they already know that, okay, this was communicated, this was there, this was on the guideline. And that's how we had to combat that and change, basically, the staff implementations with guests.
Themba Goniwe, thank you very much for your time, sir. Of course, Themba Goniwe, the manager of Curiosity Backpackers here in Maboneng, and he also manages 12 Decades, a hotel here in Maboneng, saying that they have to basically just do things differently, just to try by all means to accommodate all of those international guests. You know, perception is basically anything where the tourism is concerned, and those coming into the country. The July unrest did indeed create some sort of challenge where those accommodation for international tourists coming into South Africa is concerned. But I must say, Ayanda, a whole lot of businesses have had to shut down. They've closed shop here, not only from COVID-19, but also from the July unrest. This is an area that saw a lot of police having to come into this area to try protect the businesses that are here. It's just a stone throw away from the GP police station. And you can imagine that most of the owners here, they were reaching out to the police frantically to try protect those guests, tourists that are here, and just their property in general. Ayanda?
Katlego, Legodi, thanks very much indeed. Katlego's live to us there from Maboneng in Johannesburg.